Thank you, Congressman Lavanfa, and I want to say thank you, Chair Hageman and Chairman Westerman, for holding this critical hearing regarding Puerto Rico. And I'll say critical because the continuing instability of the electrical grid is a roadblock to our economic development on the island. And it's a threat to the public safety and to the mental and physical health of my constituents as well. Even though the House has canceled votes today and members have left for their districts, Mr. Chairman, you have demonstrated your commitment to the island and our residents by keeping this hearing at schedule, all while others are more interested in photo ops and a good headline. I also want to thank Chair Hageman and my colleagues who are here today, even when votes are not called. The Committee on Natural Resources is the committee with jurisdiction over Puerto Rico and the rest of the U.S. territories. Refusing to testify at this hearing is a clear disregard, not just to the committee or to me as the only member representing the island, elected from the island in U.S. Congress, but also, more important, to my constituents. We will have preferred to have Secretary Granholm here, who was repeatedly invited to this hearing, to have made herself available to provide testimony at this hearing, whose intent is to oversee the federal funding that we in Congress have approved to several federal agencies that are allegedly led by the Department of Energy, as the principal agency tasked with our nation's energy production and policies, to execute an action plan that guarantees reliable, safe, and affordable electricity on the island. And I am not the only one saying this. The president tasked the Secretary Granholm as the lead, personally, in Puerto Rico a few months ago in Ponce, and I was there as well. Subsequently, I must think that her willful and misguided decision to be absent from this hearing has caused to also have absences from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Federal Emergency and Management Agency, FEMA. This is an issue that must be treated with all the seriousness and urgency that it deserves from all public officials tasked with this matter, and all the energy sector stakeholders as well. I wish I could sit here and tell you it was an issue of the past, but it's not. And I will be lying to you. Hurricane Irma Maria in 2017 revealed the weak condition of the Puerto Rico's energy infrastructure. That's the reality. We suffered months of power outages in rural areas for almost a year. The earthquakes in the Southwest in 2020 reminded us that this tragic reality, as well as the daily outages my constituents continue to suffer. The reality is that 7 years later, blackouts and brownouts still affect our everyday life. That's the reality on the island. The system can barely meet demand, and any spike brings it down. This past month alone, we saw numerous outages affecting hundreds of thousands of customers for long hours, days, and days on end. You cannot run a business like this. You cannot have a stable and safe home like this. Schools, hospitals, every sector on the island is affected by the unpredictability of our electricity system. Our legacy plants are still being run to their limits and deferring maintenance, increasing the risk of failing before they can be replaced. The transmission and distribution system is still overloaded and missing basic redundancies in power lines. All that despite total obligations for recovery for almost $17 billion from different sources, including over $11 billion between FEMA and HUD for permanent rebuilding announced at the end of 2020. However, almost 4 years later, the most optimistic estimate from the government of Puerto Rico shows specific projects approved. Construction stage barely add up to 10% of the permanent work fund obligations. My time expired this time, but I will continue to raise the voice of the people of Puerto Rico in this committee. Madam Chair, I yield back.
Thank you. Thank you for your perspective as well. It's very important for this committee.